Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Now, as most of you probably know by now, Halo Infinite just debuted some gameplay yesterday for the Xbox Showcase event, and it has received a number of mixed reactions. Now, when I first watched it, my initial reaction was pretty positive. I thought that it looked pretty good, but I've played Halo my entire life. I've played the Master Chief Collection, I've looked at the old graphics and the remastered graphics. Even recently, I started replaying the Master Chief Collection again, just because of all the hype around Halo Infinite. So I'm definitely pretty hyped for this game. It looks pretty good. I'm interested to see what kind of changes they're going to be making to the game here in the future. But this game has been getting nothing but backlash, and it's just been completely torn a new one by the internet. There have been tons of comparisons to old previous games. People are comparing it to Halo 3, they're comparing it to Halo Reach. People, they're breaking it down bit by bit, and there's just different screenshots of how bad some of these textures and some of these graphics look, and the internet is just ripping it hard. Now, I think most of this comes from the whole console war. Anytime there's a new console, everyone's at each other's throats. PlayStation's better, Xbox is better, my exclusives are better than your exclusives. So I think a lot of the Sony fanboys that just hate anything to do with Xbox are just nitpicking and just completely trashing this game just for the sake of doing it. So I don't think Halo deserves as much hate as it's getting, but at the same time, I can understand why it's getting backlash. Like, this was Xbox's big event. This was their time to shine. They're trying to convince gamers to switch over to get the new Xbox. They weren't even close in the last generation. Like, PlayStation sold well over 100 million PlayStation 4s, so they just completely blew Xbox out of the water. And Xbox has been doing nothing but bragging over the past couple months that their new console is the most powerful one ever, and games on the Xbox Series X are going to be better than ever. They're going to look beautiful, and they've just done nothing but hyped up this Xbox Series X. And then when they show off their top game, their number one go-to exclusive, their console seller game, they're showing off Halo of all games. This game has been in development for well over 5 years. It has a huge budget, and then they show off gameplay that's got some pop-in the distance. The textures aren't fully loading in. If you zoom in on some of the aliens, like the Brute's face, it just looks horrible. Some of the guns don't look well, and it just does not look very good for a presentation. And if they're showing off their new console and bragging about how powerful it is, you would think that they would put all the resources into making this look as good as possible. So I can definitely understand why people are trashing on it, because Xbox did kind of talk themselves up, saying it was going to be like the best console ever. But to me personally, I don't really care that much. I kind of get what they're going for. They want this to look like classic Halo, and to me it does. The colors are bright, it looks, sounds, it feels like the original Halo, which is kind of the appeal that they're going for. I don't really care as much about graphics. I mean, yeah, I'm a little disappointed if it doesn't look as good as what it could. I think bare minimum, it should look as good as Halo 5, especially if it's going to be on the new Xbox. It needs to be even better than Halo 5. Like we're supposed to be going forward, not backward in terms of graphics. So I'm a little disappointed, but it's not going to stop me from buying the game. I'm still hyped as long as the gameplay is fun, which it does look fun. They've added some new features like a grapple hook and some different equipment and stuff you can use. We know that the game is going to be open world, so there's that. But that doesn't change the fact that some of the memes that have been popping up on the internet are absolutely hilarious. As much as I love the Halo franchise, I just sat there last night for a couple of hours just going through all the different memes. They are so good. Most of them primarily revolve around that Brute's face up close. It just looks like something you'd see from like Halo 3. So everybody's just sort of tearing that Brute a new one, which, like I said, is kind of rightly deserved. But regardless, I think the game's going to be fun. I'm getting a good laugh out of all the memes. It's going to be interesting to just sit back and watch this game development and see if they take that criticism and actually make the game look a little bit better towards launch. Now, when you have people arguing over the internet, there's always going to be two sides to every fight. And of course, the Halo fans have come to the defense. They've pointed out a million times that it's just a demo. It's not a final product. It's only July, and the game's supposed to come out in probably November or December. So there is an argument to be had there. I mean, the game isn't finished yet, so it will probably look better as a final product. And in an interview with Inside Gaming, they actually asked about this in regards to the graphics and some of the backlash it was getting. They asked Aaron Greenberg, the Xbox marketing general manager, They asked him about the criticism. He says, listen, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. It's July. We're far from launch and holiday. You're seeing a work in progress game. And then he went on to further say, the other thing I'll just say is it's a work in progress. I can tell you because we see build check-ins every week and they make progress week after week. So between now and holiday, it's just going to get better and better. And then when he was asked about the actual gameplay demo and what it was recorded on, he said it was captured from a PC that was representative of the experience that players will have on the Xbox Series X. So it's not quite running on the Xbox Series X in that gameplay demo, it's running on a PC. They're going to be pretty similar. But as he said, and a lot of the community has said, it is just a demo. We do have a couple months. I'm sure they're doing a lot of fine tuning between now and then. They have confirmed that there's going to be a ray tracing update for free once the game is launched. So I already know that there's going to be a pretty big graphic overhaul once the game has finally released. So I have no doubt that the game is eventually going to look better. Now, as for information about the game itself, IGN spoke with the studio head Chris Lee and asked him a bunch of different questions and stuff. During that conversation, Lee revealed that Infinite is the last standalone release for the franchise for the foreseeable future. And then he was quoted by saying, Halo Infinite is the start of our platform for the future. We want Infinite to grow over time versus going to those numbered titles and having all that segmentation that we've had before. It's really about creating Halo Infinite as the start of the next 10 years for Halo and then building that as we go with our fans and community. So that's actually pretty interesting that they're not going to be pumping out yearly Halo 7, 8, 9. They're actually just going to focus on Infinite, and they're just going to slowly add more and more story elements to Infinite. I'm kind of all for that. I don't have to go out and buy a new Halo every couple years. Although this game is included in Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, you don't have to pay full price for the game. You could just download it on day one, which is a pretty cool freaking deal. And then we got these little extra tidbits of information from IGN. The first one being you can't pet the wildlife. I guess somebody asked about the wildlife. You can only kill them, so if you see any wild animals, you can shoot them and stuff. They will die in the crossfire. It says players will fight the Banished in Infinite, a rogue faction of brutes led by the Board Chief. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Along with plenty of familiar Covenant elites and grunts too, who were prominently featured in Halo Wars 2. And then next up, it says Halo Infinite allows players to explore without being confined to levels. Chief can hop in a Warthog and take on a mission objectives in whatever order the player chooses. And while there is an openness to the ring, the gameplay will always come back to telling the Chief's story. And then they talk a little bit about the new tech. Master Chief has a new tool called the Grapple Shot to help him get around easier. It can pull Master Chief up to elevated areas, get closer to enemies, and grab fusion coils and throw them at attackers. And they talk a little bit about some of the new weapons, the Ravager, the Mangler, the CQS-48 Bulldog, the VK-78 Commando, and the Pulse Carbine. So they're actually switching up some of the weapons. Some of the weapons that we saw before in previous Halos, like the shotgun, is just completely getting replaced with a new drum magazine, and it's a 12 gauge. The new Ravager is a banished 3-round burst gun. The Mangler is a banished pistol. So they're actually switching it up, giving us some new weapons than what we're used to seeing. So that's pretty cool. And then for the progression, it says Halo Infinite doesn't have any sort of experience meter, but there are upgrades in the form of items players will discover as they explore, rather than some sort of XP based skill tree. So that actually sounds cool to me. I'm all for just getting different things as you explore. I don't really like the idea of just grinding and just killing grunts and brutes over and over and over to fill up XP. That doesn't feel like it would work really well in Halo, but I am interested to see what all different upgrades and stuff that you can get for Chief's armor. And then some final bits of information for you guys before we close out the video is that we do know the game's going to be open world. It will have side quests. The pilot is supposed to have a major role. When 343 was asked about the pilot, they said that they made him pretty down to earth. He's basically Chief's new version of Cortana, since Cortana's not with Chief. Chief kind of needs this new person to lead him. Odds are you'll probably get most of your missions from the pilot. You'll probably go back to him and hang out and get to know him better as the game progresses. The brutes can actually throw grunts, which is pretty interesting. One, that just sounds funny, and two, that adds this kind of new aspect of the gameplay. They can just throw suicide grunts at you. You can pop them out of midair, so that's pretty cool. And then we know that this is technically a sequel to Halo 5, but 343 have said that you don't need to play any of the previous Halos to play Infinite, but I would recommend that you go through and at least play the other Halos. That way you at least know the backstory. And then one of the biggest questions that a lot of people have is there going to be co-op? Now, I don't know if there's going to be split screen. A lot of people really like split screen in Halo, but we do know that it's going to have 4-player co-op. I don't know how that's going to work in the open world, for example. I don't know if player 2 is going to have all the same equipment as player 1. I don't know if you're playing 4-player co-op, if 2 people can go do one quest and 2 people can go do another. I don't know how that's going to work, but apparently there is 4-player co-op. So overall, I think it looks promising. I'm not hating on the graphics as much as other people. Like I said, I understand why people are doing it. I think it will get better as we get closer to launch. And overall, I mean, it's more Halo. I'm pretty excited. I hope it's a step forward from 4 and 5. I wasn't the biggest fans of 4 and 5, but I'm pretty optimistic. I think it looks good. Can't wait till we see more information about the game. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. And then if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. Be sure to join the channel's Discord and follow me on Twitch at SwannyPlaysGamesLive. And that's going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all in the next video.